Again, this is Roy Gillis, Centex Sports, here with Jalen Gillis. Jalen, our next guest is somebody that many people in Central Texas already know who he is. And I was just looking at some of his stuff. He's the NFLPA Community MVP winner, 2016, 17, 18, 19, the first four-time winner, Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee twice.
Yeah.
Alan Page Community MVP finalist, SMU Emerging Leader Award sole recipient, and also he's recognized by Forbes magazine. And so we've got somebody that's not only making an impact on the football field, but also making an impact in his community and his surroundings. That's none other than Kelvin Beachum, NFL player. Come on, let's bring Brother Beachum in. How you doing, Kelvin?
Doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Man, I'm looking at all these accolades, man. You're busy on and off the field.
I've been blessed, man. By no means do I take credit for that. For one, it's God that's blessed me with these gifts, both on and off the field. But I got a great support system. I got a great family, got a great wife, got great kids. Just a phenomenal support system that allows me to both operate, within the white lines and outside of the white lines.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I got to set the stage. So we got a chance to chat a little bit about a month or so ago in a whole different environment, in a church environment, because that's kind of your background. But I think you've been in the NFL. Will this be the 11th or 12th year?
It's going on 12. So hopefully here in a couple of weeks, complete 12 training camps.
12 training camps, former player at SMU, and I guess maybe more relevant for some of the fans that'll be watching, former player for the Mexia Black Cats down in Mexia, Texas.
Yes, sir. Proud of Mexia, the Black Cats, Black Cat Pride.
Black Cat
Pride. Yes, sir.
Whatever they call it now, they got to have some type of slogan that goes with football these days.
Oh yeah.
Kelvin, tell us a little bit about, I guess, your background coming up in Mexia, Texas, getting a chance to play for the Black Cats before you went off to play at SMU. Give us a little bit about the background there in Mexia, Texas. What it's like growing up out there.
Yeah, football is everything there in Mexia. The city. It's not a big city by any means, but sometimes it was shut down on Friday nights. Everybody would come and be tuned into the game, and most likely everybody be at Ruby Lee's or Drilling Rig, which are some of the local cafe spots, on Saturday talking about the game. So it was always something that, you look forward to growing up. I tell people all the time, I never went to a varsity football game until I was on varsity playing football, playing for the varsity team, and so on and so forth as I've continued to go in my career. But it was something special to be able to play Friday Night Lights in Mexia, Texas, on grass. I've been trying to get them to go back to grass. They're playing on turf now, but
really,
playing on grass. We had a nice domed grass field when I played there. So, really enjoyed my time there in Mexia. But you knew, on Friday nights what it was about. It was going to be a dogfight, and whoever you happened to play, whoever happened to come in town, you knew you were expected to win.
Kelvin, you obviously a lot of success in the NFL. I think what some people miss is you got so many stories. I'm just chatting with you last month and then just reading some of the stuff. So many things off the field, man. How do you balance doing all that you do? And let me say this also. I was talking to an athletic director about 2 weeks ago when we were setting up for the Mexia game, and your name came up. And he was talking about, I think Coach Gerrick either used to coach in Mexia. He did something in Mexia, and he talked about that grit, man. He said, this guy is an undersized, what's considered now an undersized lineman, whipping dudes, 50 pounds heavier than him. Man, where does all that come from, man? How do you balance all the stuff that you're doing?
I think if you want to talk about kind of, how you play the game, being someone undersized, and I'm still considered undersized, in the National Football League. I really attribute that to my father and my grandfather. Both of them worked on cars, so I was around heavy machinery all the time. Was tasked with pulling transmissions and pulling motors, so it was very heavy-handed to say the least. And I think that carried over into playing football. I also played a lot of basketball growing up. Played a ton of basketball, so being able to move laterally, I think helped out a ton with playing basketball growing up, and I think that aided in the ability to be able to move other people on the football field and be able to get in front of people and stay in front of people. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about what's in your heart. It's not how big the dog is; it's the fight in the dog. And this dog got a little bark. And when it had to be put on display, I made sure to put it on display.
So you talk about having a little bit of that bark. You get drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers, historic organization. One of the most popular teams, if not the most popular team in the National Football League. A lot of different personalities you get to play with. You get to get coached by the great Mike Tomlin to start with, but you get to play with greats and future Hall of Famers like Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. Just tell us about what it was like, one, coming to such a historic organization, and then what was it like kind of playing with some of those stars on the offensive side of the ball?
It's interesting. I tell people all the time, I grew up, even though you're supposed to say you're a Cowboys fan, I grew up cheering for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers.
Uh-oh.
Those were my two teams because that's who I played the game with. When I was younger, that's who I played Madden with. So when Madden first came out, that's who I played with. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. And to play in that and to be drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers and to play in that locker room and to be a part of that family and that tight-knit community, it was special. When I first got drafted, my locker was actually right next to Ben's for just a couple weeks until we got to training camp, and lockers changed fast. But it was special to be in that locker room. Hall of Famers and Ben and Troy Polamalu and James Harrison is currently going into the Steelers Hall of Fame. Had to block him every day in practice. You had the 2010 defense that was just a couple years removed from being one of the best defenses in the National Football League. So Casey Hampton and Brett Kiesel, and you have Cam Hayward, who was a young player at the time, who's now become one of the best defensive linemen and best defensive ends in the National Football League, and played with the Killer Bees. Antonio, AB, Le'Veon, and Big Ben. But you also have Martavis Bryant. You have Marcus Wheaton. You had D'Angelo Williams. I got to play with Jericho Cotchery before he retired. So man, I got to really play in an era where you were spreading the ball around, but you were also able to run the ball at will. And it was a number of times that we ran the ball extremely well, the years that I was there, but we also put up a lot of points. As many times, I don't even keep the game balls that we have from those years, but remember putting up 6 touchdowns. I think it was Monday Night Football versus the Colts back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been cool to be a part of such rich history and be a part of an organization that is truly the best. I play for a lot of organizations, but there's a reason that Pittsburgh has, that many trophies, that many Lombardis, and has so many in the Hall of Fame. It's a storied franchise, and they treat it as such day in and day out.
I know you mentioned your father and your grandfather, which I had the pleasure of meeting both of them. Great men. Coming out of a smaller school, I don't know who all recruited you, but tell me a little bit about who was on that recruiting list.
Yeah.
We know you ended up at SMU, but what makes you? Because a lot of guys in small markets, they feel like it ain't no way somebody's gonna see me here.
Yeah.
How do you come out of a small school like Mexia? Who was recruiting you when you were coming out of high school?
Yeah. So the first offer that I got was from a school in Natchez, Southeastern Oklahoma University.
Yeah.
That was the first school. The second school was it was SFA, but the coach who was at SFA left to go to Iowa State. I can't remember his name, but left to go to Iowa State, and then Iowa State was one of the next offers that came in. SMU then came down the pipe and put an offer after they saw me play basketball. That's why I mentioned that it was great that you got to play all these different sports, because my offer actually came after they saw me playing basketball. They actually saw me down in Westwood, Palestine, playing Palestine. I put up 30 plus that night. I can't remember that. I've said it was 42. I can't remember how many it was, but I know it was over 30. But put up quite a few against Palestine Westwood. And then the head coach and the defensive coordinator, Jim Gush, the recruiting coordinator, Jim Gush, actually came and watched me play Grosbeck in Mexia. And then when we went out for official visits, SMU was one of the first people to offer. Now, they got me because they said if we put this offer on the table, you can't go see anybody else, because I was lined up to go to West Texas A&M, Abilene Christian University. Was supposed to go to Iowa State, but it was snowed in, so I'm glad I didn't go to Iowa State. But was all the D2 schools there in Texas, had interest and offers on the table, and then a lot of the junior colleges. Texas, who's in Tyler? Texas College or
TJC? Tyler
TJC,
Junior College.
Tyler Junior College. Mm-hmm. Tyler Junior College. So had some small offers. But to your question, I say this all the time: if you're good, they will find you. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. If you're good, they will find you. And some people don't want to hear that. And some people don't want to work to make sure that if is them. Mm. So it's two-sided. It's one, if you're good, they will find you. So that means you got to do a lot of work on your own to put yourself in a position to make yourself stand out on film. That's something that you can control. You can't control what anybody has to say from an evaluation standpoint. I was a 2-star. I wasn't, some top, 4 or 5-star recruit coming out of Mexia, but it's what you put on the film. Mike Tomlin used to say this all the time, and it rings true for anybody in high school or in junior. They recruiting in junior high now, but your film is your walking, talking, breathing resume. Yep. Let your film do the talking. Not what you say on social media, not what you say on Facebook or IG or TikTok or Snap. What does the film say? And if the film is talking for you, they will find you. It's more than enough tape. It's more than enough scholarships out there. If you're good, they will find you. So that really puts the onus on the individual to make sure that they're doing everything in their power to be ready. And when their opportunity, presents itself, they're ready. The only reason I think that I got even noticed by, Southeastern Oklahoma because they saw me pulling versus Gatesville. Playing Gatesville, first game of the year, they were a very, high-powered team, and they saw me moving people against Gatesville, my junior year. So if you're good, they will find you. So I really believe that it puts it on the individuals. And the thing about Central Texas is so much noise. And it was noise when I was growing up. I mean, you talk about Mexia and Connally, you had Henry Golightly. That was the talk of the town there in Connally. You had, La Vega that was popping. You had Robinson and Midway. It was a lot that was going on there in Central Texas. But if you're good, they will find you. So for any young person or any father or mother that's talking about trying to put their son into college, let your kid be a kid and make him work or make her work. If they're good, somebody will find them. I promise you that.
Yeah, that's good recruiting notes for those that are going to be watching this and some of those parents that are going to be watching this. If you're good, they're going to find you and make yourself be available in those times to be able to be found. And when you get your opportunity, definitely take full advantage of it. Kelvin, wanted to ask you a little bit. We touched on a little bit earlier about some of your things off the field. We've heard and read before about some of the mission trips you've taken to different places and building wells to be able to help and give back to some of the misfortunate in these other countries. Just touch on that a little bit and what inspired you to be able to go and do that.
The thing is, I always say this, the Bible talks about charity starts at home and then spreads abroad. I always start at home. Whatever I do in Mexia, Texas, I try to make sure that I can take that to other places. So if I can't do it in Mexia, I don't do it anywhere else. So everything that I've done, it started in Mexia. I was raised on Women's, Infants, and Children's, which is a government-based program, the WIC program, which is a part of the SNAP program, which is government funded. And I made sure that is an area that I focus on. So food insecurity, making sure there's access to nutritious food. So I've always done food distributions in my hometown. When I was in high school, I worked with the Multicultural Society and did things around food distribution. When I went to college at SMU, I did canned good distributions and raise awareness around, trying to bring canned goods to games. So I've always done something in and around hunger, since for me, the dawn of time, or the minute that I could start being able to give back. And then secondly, it's always been around science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Again, I mentioned that my father and my grandfather worked on cars. They still do. That is literally what they do every single day, something science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So I've always tried to bring curriculum and resources back to Mexia to be able to inspire the young people, because I realize this. Everybody can go pro in football, but everybody can go pro in STEAM. And that is the truth. Because if you look at it, there have only been two, to my knowledge, two men from Mexia that have played significant football in the National Football League. And that's myself and that's Ray Rhodes. That's two people in over 100 some years,
Yeah.
So realizing that, yes, I used to do a football camp back in Mexia. I'm thinking about doing something again, along those lines. But I realized that I'm shelling these kids short if I'm not bringing the resources that I'm learning, out here in the market and bringing that back to my hometown and to rural Texas. So I've always tried to make sure that I take care of home first, and then I try to be where my feet are. And what I mean by be where my feet are is when I was in Pittsburgh, I did things in Pittsburgh. I worked with the Pittsburgh Food Bank there in Pittsburgh and worked with Chevron on the STEM front. When I was in Jacksonville, I worked with the Northeast Florida Food Bank on the food insecurity side. Then I worked with the STEM. It was like a STEM ecosystem that they had there in Jacksonville, Florida. When I got to New York, worked in collaboration with the New York Food Bank, and then worked with a number of the entities within New York, New Jersey, to be able to bring science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Here in Arizona, work with the United Food Bank here in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. And then on the STEM front, working with United Aviate Academy, trying to make sure that we have Black pilots that can be able to fly these planes. So making sure at every step of the way, I'm where my feet are. And then, God has afforded me to be able to travel the world, literally. And when I go places where I happen to see a need, I go and try to make sure that I'm doing things that provide that need. If I go to another country and I see they don't have access to water, well, what can I do to be able to provide access to water? A very basic human need. It's not something magical, not something that's all inspiring in some respects, but it's needed. They need water. All right, well, what can I do to raise awareness and bring access to water? So, really try to make sure that, the things that I was taught by my grandfather, my father, my mother, my grandparents, that it starts at home first and then spreads abroad is the same type of mantra and the same type of concepts that I try to be able to take in every area of life. And I've tried to do that at every single stop that I've had in my career.
Kelvin, your story, and I've heard a little bit about it before when we conversated before. It's really inspirational, man. And from the convocation, your conversation was such that people was really amazed. People say there's a football player, he's going to be talking about this, he's going to be talking about X's and O's. It's like, no, this guy's talking a whole nother on a whole nother level, and definitely that's something near and dear to our heart. There's probably thousands of players that have come out of Mexia that played football, but you just mentioned two that actually got an opportunity to get paid to do it. So they're going to have to do something afterwards. And if at any point you ever need us for anything, man, we're all in on that. We're all in on that part. I want to thank you so much for stopping in and giving us a little time. How's training camp going so far?
Training camp is training camp. It never gets easier.
Yeah.
We're a couple of days away from it being done. We got a joint practice that starts on Wednesday with the Vikings. So we actually leave tomorrow to head to Minnesota. We'll be in Minnesota for the rest of the week. And we got the Vikings over the weekend.
Wow. Well, this is amazing. I'm curious to see the next chapter. The next chapter for Kelvin Beachum is going to be big. It's going to be big. I really believe that. Jalen, you got any last words for, I call him Brother Beachum because we got a little church connection here.
Yeah, Kelvin, before you get out of here, what is something you would say to that kid that, that's trying, maybe feels like he's being overseen because he's in one of these small towns like a Waco, like a Mexia, like some of these other surrounding areas? what is your message to that kid and that's got aspirations of playing at the next level collegiately or even at the pro level?
Yeah. For one, I tell a lot of people and a lot of kids this: be a kid right now. Like, be a kid. College is out there, but until you have to start taking the ACT and the SAT and start getting ready to do all that clearinghouse and stuff, be a kid. That's one thing that I really, worry about with this new generation is like they want to grow up so fast and they want to be, in college and be pro and have influence so fast. That comes with another different type of responsibility and another obligation. So as long as you can be a kid, first and foremost, be a kid. If you have aspirations of wanting to go to the next level, I would go find a hill, a very, very steep hill, and I would get really, really fast running up that hill. I would get very, very strong. Things that you can control. Control what you can control. That's really the message that I would tell you, or tell that young person, is control what you can control. You can control how strong you are. You can control how fast you are. You can control how many push-ups you can do, how many sit-ups you can do, how many planks, how long you can hold a plank, how many pull-ups. Those things require no weight room. A push-up, squats, planks, pull-ups, push-ups, those require no weight room. You don't need a weight room. I didn't have a weight room. Yeah. I had torque converters and transmissions and motors. That was my weight room. So you don't need a weight room to do some of those things. So use what you have, control what you can control, and be a kid. And let the chips fall where they fall, to be honest with you. Whether you go off to college and you get a full ride to go to college, that is an accomplishment. To get a scholarship to go to college. If you get a partial scholarship, that is an accomplishment to be able to go to college. But until then, take the time to be a kid.
Brother Beachum, thank you so much for stopping in and giving us a little time. Of course, always, man, praying for you and wish you well in these chapters. And like I said, I'm looking forward to what's going to be next. I just feel like it's going to be something great for the people all over Central Texas. And if you should ever need us in the future, all you got to do is say something. We have cameras. We'll get there. We will get there. Thank you so much for stopping in. Jalen, next we'll be talking about Mexia versus Connally. All right, so next coming up, we have, we're going all the way to Connally. The Connally Cadets in this opening weekend, this Power Packed opening weekend for high school football. Looking forward to some great matchups, Jalen. None other than the Connally Cadets are getting ready to head off to Mexia.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we're going to go ahead and get, we've got the AD, the athletic director, and the head coach of the Connally Cadet football team. Coach Terry Gerrick is getting ready to come on. Let's go ahead and get him on stage, and we'll talk to him about what's happening coming up this Friday night. Coach, how are you today?
Doing good. Super excited about Friday night. You got to kind of slow yourself down. You don't want to get here too quick.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's Friday Night Lights. We're getting ready to open up a new season again. We're excited about this team, and I know that you were kind of coming off of last year. You had a team full of power pack with D1 players, and this year we got a good little mix this year as well. Last year didn't end the way we wanted it to end. Of course, no, everybody wants to win state championship, but only one team can. But tell us about this year's 2023 Cadets.
Well, we're still trying to find our niche and who we are. But I will tell you this is a completely different team than what we had last year. Every year, the teams are different. They kind of have their own identity. And we're still kind of searching for ours right now, but we've seen some really good things. We got some good leadership in this group. We got a big group of seniors, and leadership has been unbelievable so far. We got some kids that are returning, and then we have some kids that are going to step up this year. And we're really excited to see those younger ones step in these roles and see how they're going to handle it.
Yeah, Coach, speaking on some of that leadership, like you said, a huge senior class this year that you guys have. A lot of these guys have been playing varsity ball for a while, too. When you think about, the two of the main guys on the team, the two seniors, Kiefer Sibley and Kobe Black, outside of their play, what have they brought with their leadership to this team, to a slightly young team?
Each of them lead in a little different way. And Kobe Black this year he's been a little more outspoken and in a positive way. It hasn't been a negativity deal. He tells his teammates, "Hey, that's not how we do this. Hey, come on, guys." And it's in a real positive way. It's not to downgrade anybody, do anything like that. So he's upbeat about his leadership and he's vocal about it. Kiefer is a little different. On the other hand, he kind of does his leadership through his actions. And it's no difference than when we get out there and we do what we call RME or run mesh exchange on the hose, and we're working our handoffs. You'll see some of these kids, this is on the 20-yard line, they'll run to the goal line. Well, Kiefer's going to run through the back of the goal line, and he's going to get back in the front of the line and he's going to go again. So when the other kids watch Kiefer and his work ethic, that's his leadership right there. And he'll speak up too, but that's his big deal, is his work ethic. And so that kind of feeds to the other kids. Same thing with Kobe, that positive leadership when he speaks up feeds to the other kids. And they're not the only two. We got some good seniors, and they've been a little vocal, and they've been it means something to them. And so if they'll keep pushing, I think we're going to be okay.
Coach, coming off of last year, as I said, you had McDonald down at UT. You had the Wiggins kid, I think that's Sam Houston. And you have one other kid, I think, go to Stephen F. Austin.
Yes, sir.
You lost those great seniors. How do you, as the coach, transition from these year to year? Because, high school coaches, you guys are always moving kids in and out. How do you get these kids, these ones that are coming up sophomores? I know your quarterback is coming up off the 9th grade team, or one of the kids. How do you get them prepared for these type of lights and the kind of spotlight that's going to be on them?
Well, if you the way we kind of do it in practice, our sub-varsity is going to see varsity competition in practice every day. And we got, with these guys that maybe not have been starters for us, or with some of these younger kids coming up, it's a competition in practice every day. And we try to give them an opportunity to get out there and show themselves. And, we kind of have the idea of it's next man up. Somebody gets sick, somebody gets hurt, whatever it may be. If we got to pull up a JV kid and play on a Friday night, we got to trust that kid's ready and he can go. So we train these kids to be ready for Friday night, even though they're playing a JV game. And a good example is last year we had Zion Wright, who was a sophomore, and we also had Ja'Cory Mays, a sophomore, played the whole year on JV, but started on the defensive line in our first playoff game because we had some injuries and some other issues happen. And so they stepped right in, but those guys were prepared, where they were ready to go. And so we're super excited to see how some of these guys stepping into these roles can handle it.
Yeah, Coach, we've seen this Connally team over the years always have that next man up mentality. And in the last question, he kind of touched a little bit on McDonald leaving off to Texas, which means you got a new starter in a QB this year coming in. I know we're going to have some different variations and different guys stepping into that quarterback role. But I want to talk a little bit about Vincent. He's been getting some buzz, around the city and some of these different camps and picking up some offers and recruiting as well. Talk a little bit about him and how he can help this team coming up.
Well, we call him Jam, for short. And Jam is a great young man. Jam is I don't know how to put this. He's special. He's got some athletic ability. He kind of looks like a young Jelani McDonald, but in a different way. He's got the juice, is what we call it as coaches, and he can go. Now, he's got some things he has to work on, and he understands that, and he's been handling it very well. The young man has not played a varsity game yet. We don't know how he's going to react and how he's going to do it, but in the back of our mind and our heart, I think we've got this kid trained good enough, and at the same time, we believe in this kid that he can handle these things. With that being said, I think he could be a difference maker. He's young and still got some things to learn, but I think he can be a big difference maker out there on Friday nights. And then also, he kind of gets put on the back burner, but we have our quarterback, our back from last year that was our backup, Jarrett Shepard, and he can go out there and run the whole offense. And this guy is as smooth as they come. He doesn't get frustrated about anything. His teammates trust him. And you kind of look back at the Cameron game last year when Jelani went down, Jarrett came in. No problems. didn't have any problems and handled his business. And so we're fortunate to have two guys that we could roll in there if we needed to. We're just going to kind of have to see which one can take it over. They both got their positives and they both have some negatives to them in their play. And so we're going to have to find out which one can help us win more games or which one can help us move the ball the most.
Coach, you got some very skilled guys with Black and Sibley and the quarterback situation, but none of that works without an offensive line. Tell us about the offensive line, because I know you had quite a few starters to come back. Tell us about that part of the unit.
So last year we had a left tackle. He is his name is Chris Hargrove. He started every game for us last year at left tackle. He's getting a little competition, getting pushed a little bit this year from a sophomore young man. Good-looking young man, gets after it, a hard worker named Daniel Hancock. So early on in these scrimmages, we've been splitting time with those two at left tackle. Kind of don't know who's going to take it over yet, but they're both going to play, whether we have to split time with them or not, because they both got some intangibles about them that are really good. But they're working their tails off. I'm super proud of them. Angel Castillo, who was a backup on varsity last year, that's a senior. Him and Zion Wright, who played for us on the defensive line last year in the first playoff game, are working on that left guard position. That's the spot that we're making up from last year that we lost. We have our center back, which is Benito Garcia. So he's back. He'll be a starter for us. At right guard, we have Cameron Kaufman. And Cameron's one of those boys, he just kind of likes to get out there and get a little dirty. He's not afraid to get after it a little bit. And his brother played for us a few years ago at center, and his younger brother plays quarterback on our sub-varsity. And then our right tackle, Jamian Fields, he's been on varsity for 3 years starting at right tackle. So we have some experience back. And we also have a few guys to back them up this year. We're probably in better shape overall than we have been in the last 3 years on the O-line. Now, we have to go out and prove that, but I think these guys can get it done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Coach. Yeah, awesome. This Friday, starting against Mexia. Once again, last year you guys had some success taking on this Mexia team. Now you get to go out to Mexia and go into their territory and take them on. Tell us about this Friday and what can we plan to see?
Well, first of all, I told our kids, and anybody who's been to Mexia, Texas and played on their field, they need to understand the atmosphere. The fans are going to be rowdy. Part of the visiting stands is seated for home section. And so a lot of their fans sit on the visiting side. And so you're going to get some chirping and you're going to get some stuff going on. And I told our kids they better be prepared for it. It's a different atmosphere playing there. It's kind of like going to Cameron when you're playing at Cameron. everything's kind of tight. And them fans are going to be rowdy. But I told them, what we're looking for more than anything and what we're excited about, we want to go out and play as hard as we can for 4 quarters. These scrimmages, kids rotate in and out, all this, but we want to play 4 quarters as hard as we can. And we want to come away feeling good about any mistakes that we make, not turning the ball over, not a lot of penalties. We want a clean game. And so hopefully our fans come out and we can produce that and we can show them, that we're ready. We're ready to get started on the year.
Coach, you guys are used to transition, and I know it hadn't quite started yet, but it's coming. Connally went to a 4-day week. And so from a coaching standpoint, you don't have that Friday in the same way that you had it before. How is that? You getting ready for this 4-day week to come?
I don't know if I'm ready for it, to be honest with you. I might be one of the ones that want to be in school 5 days a week or 7 days a week if we could. But it has some great positives to it. Kids are getting rewarded for passing the STAR test. They don't have to come up on Fridays for intervention days. It's helping our teachers plan a little bit better, be prepared in the classroom. Takes a little workload off our teachers. But as far as athletics goes, one of the great deals is I'm going to be able to possibly bring these kids in a little bit earlier on Friday. We can watch some film. We can do some things with them. And we're still kind of figuring it out. It's new to us. And I've called around to a lot of different school districts that are going to these 4-day weeks and trying to fill out, with their athletic directors and head football coaches, what they're doing. And so we got some plans in place on how we're going to deal with this, but it's going to be some things that come up that we're not prepared for on these 4-day weeks. And so we're going to have to kind of, being the principal at the high school has talked about this, we're just going to have to kind of work through it and, help each other out. But in the long run, I think it's going to be great for our school district and great for our teachers and great for our kids.
Yeah. Coach, before we let you go, I want to ask you about one more player. We touched on him a little bit earlier. We know that Kobe, a guy like Kobe, gets a lot of attention from just all the different schools and from the media and from all these different places. But I want to ask about a person that we've been calling definitely the best running back in Central Texas, and I think one of the best running backs, if not the best back in the state of Texas. And Kiefer Sibley had a historic season last year, over 2,000 yards. What does he bring? And coming into his final season, what does he bring to this team, and how does he set the tone with this play for the rest of the season with his teammates?
Well, I'll tell you this. Kiefer is determined, is a good way to put it, for his senior season to show what he's got. Kiefer has not committed anywhere yet. He has about 8 Division I offers, and he's still looking. He's still open, and so he wants to go out and prove himself this year. He wants a few more offers to get a different opportunity. He's got some schools in mind that have been talking to him, and he is focused. He's focused. He's got his mindset on what he needs to do to help this team out. And like me and him talked, I don't want him to stress out about college. That is going to come. I mean, we saw it last year with Jelani McDonald get an Ole Miss and a Texas offer basically in the middle of the season. So we talk a lot, me and Kiefer, and we sit down and we discuss it. I see how he's feeling. And, this can be tough on a 17, 18-year-old young man, all this college stuff coming out. And college has changed. The recruiting process has changed. And so more than anything, me and Kiefer talk about going on that football field every day and having fun. That's what it's about, is going out there and having fun. And when he's out there and he has fun, his talent shows. And so me and him pretty close on that deal, and just trying to make sure he doesn't get stressed out on the recruiting process or anything like that. And I can't say enough about Kiefer Sibley. He's a special young man. He's one of them guys you just want to hug every day because he's a part of your team.
Yeah. Coach, that's awesome, man. And it's great that Connally keeps that family-type atmosphere. They don't get the ISD doesn't get some of the publicity as some of the ISDs here, and it has its own set of challenges. But somehow every year you guys seem to pull this family together, not just in football, but amongst all your athletic programs. And that's what we love so much about the Connally ISD athletic program. So, Coach, we're going to let you go. We're looking forward to being in Mexia on Friday night. Friday Night Live is what we're calling it. It's going to be a big game. It's the opening matchup. I'm sure the Black Cats are going to be sitting around ready.
They'll be ready.
We're hoping they'll be ready. They'll be ready. But we want to thank you so much for stopping by and just giving us a little bit of your time. And we will see you in Mexia, Texas on Friday night.
Yes, sir. Thank both of you, men.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes,
thank you.
Coach.